war in Ukraine has been going on for more than 2 years, and with seemingly no end in sight, many are wondering what is next. The move, that is, for the U.S., especially here in the coastal empire. Georgia is one of those places, of course, where we have large military communities. WSAV's Christine Quayle had a conversation with former ambassador to NATO, Kurt Volker, during his recent visit to Savannah. Volker talked about the state of affairs overseas and what consequences those actions could have here at home.
This runs the risk of a much bigger war in Europe if it's not stopped in Ukraine.
Is there a significant risk for that kind of war, for that, right now from what we're seeing?
Yes, there is.
Russian President Vladimir Putin escalating his attacks on Ukraine in recent days. Representatives in Congress going back and forth about whether the U.S. should continue sending aid to Ukraine, all while Ukrainian President Zelensky implores the U.S. to continue sending weapons, and a presidential election looms in just a few months. It's a complicated web, one that Ambassador Kurt Volker says won't begin to unravel until November, when the U.S. elects its next president. However, he says one thing is for certain.
It is so much better for the United States to give the Ukrainians the weapons and let them fight than actually having to fight ourselves to defend allies in Europe like the Estonians or the Poles. So it's a much better arrangement for the U.S. the way it is now.
Though some of our own elected officials are pushing back on sending additional aid to Ukraine. Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, one of the loudest voices in opposition, and Senator Lindsey Graham refusing to vote in favor of more aid earlier this year without additional money to secure the southern border. Volker tells me he can't understand why.
It is fundamentally in our interest to stop Putin there rather than face a wider war, to reassert American strength in the world.
And the next president could be the one to determine how this plays out.
We've been messaging all the time, we want to avoid escalation, we want to avoid escalation. Makes sense from our perspective, but from his perspective, he sees this as weak. He said he can continue to go forward, and he can deter us from doing more to help Ukraine. So he's been encouraged by this. And so if he looks at the current administration continuing, I think that's what he's expecting, is that, okay, I can continue to wage this war the way I want to. On the other hand, with Trump administration, it's completely unpredictable for him. He had a situation in the first term of President Trump where Trump seemed to have an unusual openness to dealing with Vladimir Putin, who's a thug and he's invaded countries and so forth. But the policies of the Trump administration toward Russia were actually pretty tough.
That was Christine Quayle reporting. Volker was here speaking to the Savannah Council on World Affairs.